Hi, my name is Abhishek Banerjee. I'm the founder at Lotusdew. I've worked for more than 15 years in investment capacity as a fund manager. I worked for Goldman Sachs, I worked for a hedge fund, and I worked for a sovereign fund. Today, I want to talk to you about something really important about corporate governance in companies. So, if you look at Indian markets, for example, there are 3,000 companies that are listed in Indian markets that have a market capitalization of less than 1,000 crores. These are small companies, obscure companies, often ignored. But if you think about the universe of 3,000 companies, no matter how big or small as a wealth management firm you are, it's going to be next to impossible to go through all these 3,000 companies and find hidden companies that are actually pretty good. It's going to be a very, very difficult job. So most people ignore it. But we saw this as an opportunity because corporate governance, in our opinion, is a very important criteria by which you can look at companies. Other criteria include industry dynamics, company specific, events of the company, as well as valuation before you invest. So you remember I told you about the fact that there are 3,000 such companies. What we do is we focus on corporate governance around these 3,000 companies. We look at the board of directors and the reputation of the people who are running as the board of this company as a way to screen for companies that are really good. So, for example, if there's a person who's a board member who's not the management of the company, and they have their illustrious career in corporate India, and they have a lot of reputation that they have built over time, but they're also part of this tiny company as a board member. Uh, you have to remember that board members are insiders of the company. They understand the company dynamics far better than a minority shareholder who buy just a couple of shares. So if a person of high reputation is taking their reputation with a small company while they're also sitting in the boards of large listed companies or unlisted companies, they have studied in the best of colleges, they have worked for the best of institutions, and they have built a reputation by being, they're doing the professional life, and they're staking this claim with a small company. That's a great signal for us to screen further and understand, dive deeper into those companies to see where exactly the value lies and why are they doing so. If it's not just for the sports sitting fee, there must be something very fundamentally interesting going on in these small companies that we should further investigate. That's what we do. We apply a lot of AI ML techniques, basically in the realm of natural language processing, to understand which institutions are these people part of it in the past and in the present. Where did they work? Where did they go to study? Who else studied with them? Where are they working? How are they connected professionally in the professional network? And we try to build out a bottom up composite score of the board to then rank the companies based on this board score, to then screen companies that we think are extremely high quality board led companies. And therefore, this really helps us narrow down this universe of 3,000 to roughly 80 companies from where we can start doing our fundamental work. For example, what are the moats of the company? Are they dominating a particular niche? What is the kind of industry dynamic that they're operating in? Are there any policy tailwinds that these particular companies are experiencing? Is there any particular quality of earning visibility, and how consistently are they growing in terms of operating margins? How how are they paying their taxes? How consistent is their tax payment history? So these are some of the quality metrics that we look at, and then we find companies that we think are really interesting where this human intervention comes in, apart from the ML screening, where we are then fundamentally checking and validating each of our thesis around these companies. I want to talk to you about some of our past picks. So, for example, if you look at a company like Goldium that we picked way back in 2019, it was just a small, tiny 200 crore company, 200 crore market cap company, and we saw a couple of trends. We saw the need for premiumization. We saw precious metals as a trend. We saw the fact that this is a well-managed tiny company trying to do something in there. The markets, it's export driven. So there were a lot of good things about this particular company that we liked, and we took up a position. And now it's a 2,000 crore company, which is almost a 10x from where we started. Had it not been for the corporate governance way of screening, we would have never really looked at a company of this size. Similarly, if you look at a company like Sangvi Movers, when we invested in August 2020, it was basically a small company. It was like a roughly 300 crore company. It's grown leaps and bounds. They dominate a niche around EPC and the need for infrastructure. So these are some of the stories that we can tell you that has worked when we have used this method that I'm teaching you about, how to screen for companies using corporate governance. If you want to know more about how these kind of things work, you can look at our product like Lotusdew listed venture capital product, which is specifically focused on use of corporate governance as a way of screening companies. You can click on the link below and check out our products. But overall, I just wanted to communicate that corporate governance is a way of screening for especially obscure companies has served us really well in terms of creating baskets that we find as good investment opportunities, and therefore I wanted to share our process and our way of looking at this particular kind of data. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next videos of where we talk about different other ways of finding interesting stocks. One thing I wanted to mention is that please do not take these as stock advice. These are examples I wanted to share to make it more concrete about how these kind of companies are screened. If you are interested in essentially these kind of stocks, please do a risk profiling with us. We'll guide you with a particular basket that might be the most suitable for your particular objective.